While I was busy fighting Adobe Premiere to make my last video, Sonic Team Jr. dropped SRB2 v2.2.14, which was probably the biggest update the game has gotten. Well, at least since I started playing it in v2.2.8, but probably since v2.2 dropped. New character sprites, new levels, complete overhauls of levels. I was pumped to jump in, but I had to finish my video first, so I refrained from downloading the update until that was done. Skip forward about a fortnight, and I've finally gotten around to it. I download the update, all of my mods and saves were intact. My performance is catastrophically bad, but that's probably the usual updates messing up settings problem, and I see the new level and the character updates. However, I look at Pipe Towers, the level that's apparently had a complete overhaul, and it's exactly the same. Turns out that I've gone onto the SRB2 website and downloaded the newest version of the game, literally, genuinely, 5 minutes after v2.2.15 released, which ended up being a hotfix patch. Unbeknownst to innocent old me, there had been some controversy regarding the update. Namely, it so thoroughly ruined a significant number of mods, the life force of the game, and many of the changes were so catastrophically buggy that Sonic Team Jr. not only felt it necessary to release a hotfix that removed much of the new content, but also to wipe v2.2.14 off of their website. It's very clear that the update was rushed for some reason, and what was once meant to be the triumphant penultimate version of perhaps the most important iteration of SRB2 ended up being taken round back and capped. And I never even got to play it. Unsurprisingly, that's messed with my plans a little bit. I had planned to make a video discussing my thoughts on the new Pipe Towers, but even if I find the mod that it was ported from, that now feels a bit redundant. I've also done a video on the new level, Final Demo Zone, already, so doing a video on that would just be retreading old ground. I thought about opting for a while as I looked to get my game into a vaguely playable state, and as I was doing that, I realised something. So the big things like new character sprites and a level overhaul might have been the most exciting part of 2.2.14, but having read the update patch notes, they're far from the only changes. Yet I'm seeing no one talk about any of that. I can only assume most people didn't read the patch notes and therefore don't know about these changes, but they're well worth talking about. And so, that's what I'm going to do today. I'll be giving my thoughts on what remains of the update, and I'll be shining a light on some of the details many seem to have missed. I'll mostly talk about the corporeal changes, the ones you'll be able to notice as a player, though I will briefly mention some of the behind the scenes stuff towards the end of the video. Also, bear in mind that I'll be talking about v2.2.14 and v2.2.15 as if they're one update, because all things considered, they really are. But with that out of the way, let's get started with the official main focus of this set of updates: multiplayer. The SRB2 website claims that the multiplayer aspect of this update was a priority because large portions of the multiplayer experience are likely to be discontinued when 2.3 is released. With that in mind, some multiplayer maps have had minor tweaks, but the big change is the addition of a few new maps into the rotation. Now, I have no experience at all with the multiplayer aspect of SRB2. It wasn't what I was looking for from the game. It's a nightmare on controller to set up a functional control scheme for it that doesn't ruin your single player controls, and I have no friends that would be interested in trying it out with me. The footage you're seeing here is the third time I have ever played on this mode in the years since I started playing SRB2. Outside of the 3 specifically highlighted in the update announcement, Crystalline Heights, Pristine Source and Summit Showdown, I don't even know which maps are new to the update. I'm not even playing against anyone else to tell how competitively viable and balanced they are, nor do I have the context to know whether that's really relevant to the multiplayer SRB2 community. I am not in any way qualified to talk about these arenas in any detail greater than this. They look good, they sound good, they seem to fit in well with the original set of maps. Hopefully, there will be people in the comments who can give a better analysis of this part of the update than I can. My main priority with this video was to talk about the single player stuff, but this was too important a part of the update to completely ignore. Maybe I can do a video on this aspect of SRB2 sometime in the future, and then I might have some more well-developed opinions on the matter. For now though, I'm more of a single player and mods kind of guy, which provides me an easy way to transition into the next major addition. For a while now, your reward for collecting 100 emblems has been Techno Legacy Zone, a faithful recreation of Techno Hill Act 2 from SRB2's earlier days. Outside of a few visual changes, it was a near perfect adaptation of that level. Which also meant it wasn't that great because, let's be honest, SRB2's level design was somewhat constrained by the engine up until the last few major updates. In 2.2.14 though, it has been removed and replaced with another level meant to instill a sense of nostalgia. Luckily, that replacement is just about as good of a nostalgia trip as you're going to get. Final Demo Zone is a port of a mod by the same name by Toaster, making this the second zone he's made that's been added to the vanilla game after the current iteration of Aerial Garden. Effectively, it combines all of SRB2 zones as they appeared in the final demo days into one giant level, which means Techno Legacy is still sort of in the game. It's very faithful, which once again means it kind of sucks from a modern perspective, but it's the perfect way to reflect on SRB2's long and storied past. I've gone more in depth on the level back when it was just a mod, so you can watch my review for my complete thoughts on it. The only thing I need to add to that is the fact that the final Ugly Nux fight is apparently the reason a few mods still don't work even with 2.2.15 reverting most of the problematic changes. I don't know how that can be possible, but honestly, it's really funny. The next major change is one we knew was coming, a visual update to the entire playable roster, helmed by the fantastically talented Motor Roads. Therefore, we also knew the changes were going to be good. At least personally though, the extent of the changes has quite surprised me. They were announced with a comparison shot that showed how the proportions and colours of the roster were going to be changed. Some were major, some were barely noticeable, but because they were all in their idle pose, I assumed that would be the extent of the changes. Tails would get the longest out and Amy would be a much brighter shade of pink, but they'd still fundamentally move and pose the same way. That is not the case. Most characters have had minor tweaks to some of their movements that make them look just a little more interesting. A little more exaggeration here, a more intense expression there. Things just look a little smoother, and it's overall a near universal subtle improvement. Metal has definitely had it the best though, because while everyone else seems to have settled on tweaks to pre-existing animations, he gets a few completely new ones. Now, when below a certain speed during a hover, Metal will drop out of his usual pose and just hang there, which makes him look very nonchalant, while he gets this amazing pose for when he's skidding. They perfectly match his personality, and as one of the franchise's resident Aura farmers, he deserves them. On the other hand, the inferior organic Sonic got the short end of the stick. Tails and Amy got noticeable changes to their designs. Knuckles and Fang have big changes to them in their animations. I've already discussed Metal. But Sonic? I haven't got a clue what's changed. His design doesn't look any different to me. I'm not noticing any changes to how he moves. I'm not seeing any new sprites. I recall that even when the initial comparison image was released, I struggled to notice any changes compared to the rest of the cast. But even now, I got nothing. So yeah, it's great work on everyone else, big improvements across the board. With the one exception where I'm not seeing a difference at all. In fact, I have a similar problem with the final thing that people seem to be talking about with this update: Aerial Garden's new textures. I actually had to look at some older videos to figure out what it changed, and the only thing I can really point to is a slightly more detailed brick texture. The OG version was very uniform, but there's now just a little more variety in colour and brick positioning. Other than that, I still got nothing. No idea what else has been changed, but if it was enough to be listed in the update announcement alongside new character sprites and new levels, there's gotta be something I'm missing. One thing that everyone seems to be missing though are the changes to Egg Rock's textures, which you'd only know about if you've gone and browsed the GitLab changelogs. I didn't notice any changes for when I was running through either act. I haven't seen a single person bring them up, so I have to assume they're either incredibly minor, or the changes have only been made to hidden textures a player isn't meant to see in normal gameplay. This is the big one I really thought I'd see at least a few people mention. 3 new music tracks have been added to the game. These aren't multiplayer exclusive or hidden in the sound test, they don't even go unused. They appear very obviously through your single player adventure. The one that is entirely unmissable is used at the end of Castle Eggman Act 1. During the final tower ascent, where the music used to fade away, there now plays this quiet, somber melody. Up until you pass the final checkpoint, at which point the original Collapsing Bridge theme still kicks in. The other 2 tracks are jingles, which play during the special stage results screen. There's one for a successful round, and one for if you fail. Considering this is a pretty big new addition, and one that pretty much every player is going to experience, I'm astounded that I've only seen a single other person bring them up. I think they're all pretty good, and they fit in well with the rest of the soundtrack. Here's a quality of life addition that I've been dreaming about ever since Sonic Team Jr. allowed the use of modded characters on vanilla save slots, actually telling you which character is needed for each save file. Before now, any save file you used a modded character on would have this stack tick effect if you tried to enter it without that mod active. There'd be no indication to which character you needed to be to play on it, and even selecting the file would just flash a generic error. That's fine if you only have a few mods, because that's just a case of activating all of them, but I have probably over 100, so I'm very glad I no longer need to go through my massive mod library and turn on random ones until the save file works. Now the character's name is clearly listed, so I know exactly which mods I need to activate. Simple, but it was all that was needed. Another great, if somewhat niche quality of life change is the increase to the number of characters you can have activated at once. There used to be a pretty strict limit to the number of mods you can activate at once, which was significantly increased a while back, but SRB2 still limited you to a skin limit of 32. If you're unaware, a character in SRB2 is known as a skin internally, so this translates to the original character roster of 6, plus another 26 modded characters. If you wanted to activate more characters for, say, multiplayer session, tough luck. I think this was actually a problem I had to find a way around on one of my old videos, but it wouldn't be one nowadays with the new skin limit of 255. I can't imagine anyone was actually asking to have that many characters available at once, but if you were, now you can. And finally, I'd like to discuss a few other miscellaneous changes. Most of these are on the technical side, but they're easy enough to grasp that I can vaguely understand what the changes mean. The first one is simplest. OpenGL Renderer now supports palette rendering, which brings it more in line with the software renderer aesthetically. I don't know the technical details about what palette rendering is or does, but what I do know is that you should turn it off. It makes the game really dark, makes a lot of levels seem really ugly with the random colours it adds to sprites, and it doesn't seem to help make the game run any better. The only acceptable way to play SRB2 in my eyes is the OpenGL renderer with palette rendering turned off. I genuinely stop watching YouTube videos if they use the software renderer because it looks so bad. If you like making custom apps, you seem to have had a pretty nice update, with the game now supporting texture scaling, per wall lighting, and sector portals. I reckon texture scaling and per wall lighting are both fairly self-explanatory, though I admit I can't quite figure out what a sector portal is. It looks to be a type of portal, as the name would suggest, but I'm struggling as I read through the ZDoom wiki to tell how this is any different from portals and teleporters that already exist in the game. But I'm sure this is exciting if you do know what this means. And then, if characters are more your style, this update has a few additions for you too. Longer sprite names are now possible, I believe up to 64 characters, and there is now compatibility with ZDoom color translations. Once again, I'm browsing the ZDoom wiki, and once again, I'm not completely understanding what this means, but it seems to be some sort of expansion to the skin color concept. Again, probably more exciting if you understand the full implications of the addition. There's also a bunch of new Lua functionality. I know you can do crazy things with Lua, but by this point, the patch notes become completely unintelligible to me, so I won't embarrass myself trying to pass add allow flip parameter to p_do_jump. And there we have it. When I first realised I'd missed my opportunity to play 2.2.14 by 5 minutes, I am being dead serious about the timing, that isn't even an exaggeration, I was pretty pissed. But as I've read through these patch notes and had time to look at what's left of the update, I reckon I can still list it as by far the most expansive update I've yet experienced from SRB2. Maybe 2.2.12 was a little more important to me, seeing as that introduced saving with mods without needing to use additional add-ons. Very useful if you're in my position. But with this update adding a new level, new music, new character sprites, new multiplayer maps, and a host of other technical additions, it's definitely been beaten on sheer quantity and variety. It could definitely have had a while longer to stamp out the technical problems though, and I do wonder how the backlash to this fiasco has changed Sonic Team Junior's plans. Is 2.2.16 still going to be the final version of 2.2? Or will they break it up to avoid biting off more than they can chew again? I hope it doesn't come to that. It's exciting to know we're nearly at the threshold for 2.3. But what did you think of the update? Did you get to experience the new pipe towers, you lucky bastard? Comment below. For now, I hope you enjoy the video, and ciao.